spamming, phishing through emails that from Nairobi. Are you seeing a shift from that kind of awareness that people would have had of Nairobi to the awareness you have now? Is Nairobi becoming more known and accepted as a social enterprise tech hub?
I think, like, any brand, the brand is built in people's heads due to the associations that they build over time. And unfortunately, in Western countries, our associations are purely based on whatever colonial history classes we've been taught, and which is 400 years of very rosy writing on the role of Western countries. And then there is about 60 or 70 years of development aid that have kind of layered on top of that. Then there is the media with a huge focus on bad news. And they, for some reason, seem to love photos of stone-throwing Kenyans whenever there's a protest. Yeah. And they don't feature the photos of people who come dressed, in their Sunday best to go and stand in line for 4 hours to vote. Because I think my lesson has been that journalists aren't so interested in writing the different story, or the story that would change people's perception. So even the positive stories are often stories of people overcoming poverty. While you could, Kenya has, tens of millions of people, a lot of whom are middle class and, go to KFC and go to the gym. Nigeria, 200 million people, has an incredible tech scene. I think if you don't want to see it and no one is there to put you on the track, you'll never know. And so I think in a way it'll be very long before people in the West realize what's going on. But I think that's a good thing, because it's growing on its own merit and for its own purpose. And there are solutions being developed here that I know one day all of us will benefit from in the rest of the world. And so it's just kind of, with any topic where you feel people might be a little ignorant, where we could be spending a lot of energy on changing the perception, or we could say, like, hey, the perception means that you're not going to benefit from it, and that's your loss.
It's interesting because in previous conversations that we've talked about your experiences working in different cultures and in different countries. With this in mind, what difficulties can a designer encounter working in different countries? How, in your experience, how do you navigate those cultural differences as a designer?
Yeah, I think I think Australians will get this analogy. So I think as a designer working in a foreign country, you can be a bit of a feral cat. Which means that you're kind of blundering your way into something you don't know so much about. You don't know necessarily as a designer what drives people, what are their pains around a certain topic. You don't always know what solutions they would like to see, or what their reasoning is behind rejecting or accepting a solution. There's, of course, challenges around visual connotations, potentially also literacy issues or language issues. For instance, if you think it's hard to design for young people in your own country, imagine how hard it is to design for young people who live in a world you have absolutely no idea about. You don't understand their language. You have no idea what drives them or what they're facing in their lives. So I think that means that you need to be a bit of even more of a researcher and do really, really diligent work, and also work obviously with a local team, because I think that the danger is that you'll just kind of, like the girl in the video of the BBC interview, when this girl comes like walking in while her dad is on the TV with CNN. I got it. I think what I tend to find is that the world of branding and the world of the visual representation of that is becoming very homogenized. So people all over the world want to startup aesthetic. And that's a shame because it's destroying a lot of cultural vernacular.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, at least that problem of like, oh, we've designed something that's very, for instance, as a Dutch designer, we've designed something that's very Dutch. No one would find that a problem anymore these days.
Yeah.
But I would say the more difficult thing is not just as a designer, but as a person working in different culture, you'll have to deal with very different hierarchy models. So for instance, in Korea, I was the only foreigner on the team. Our team meetings would be in Korean for 2 hours, and there would be the boss talking for 2 hours and the team taking notes. While in Holland, that would be the opposite. The boss would be taking notes about what the whole team wants to do. Yeah, I think it's those kind of things that are actually, that I've learned a lot from, because for instance, in Korea, I found that actually having a really good leader and everyone following that leader makes for really efficient work. While in Holland, everything needs to be a compromise and I hope the junior designer on the team is, happy with this direction because, oh my God, what if he's not? And of course, it sucks when your leader then, goes off the hill and you kind of all fall like lemmings. But there's definitely benefits to it. And I think having those kind of experiences can teach you a lot about yourself and make you much more flexible. And I think flexibility is increasingly so important because the industry is changing so fast. And I think if you're a very rigid person, you're going to be in for a wild ride in the next couple of decades.
You mentioned about the homogenization of sort of the visual language of startups.
Yeah.
Have you found with your branding tools there has been different acceptance in different countries, or has it been a universal acceptance for how branding should be adopted?
The interesting thing is, I guess, that I'm seeing also this homogenization of through design thinking, which is obviously a huge method and movement, and the business model canvas. There's just this kind of sticky note culture that most modern businesses are somewhat familiar with. The co-creation of people are more familiar with that. I think it really depends on the industry more actually than the culture. So the NGO world